So this is a Wii U console, which has a disk drive that sounds not good. Not good at all. So I want to get it apart and see why. Why does it sound weird? And I also need to do some comparative part testing against my cockroach infested Wii U. Because I did some jerry-rigged wiring that I want to make sure is correct. And I'm more wanting to just get down to that. I need to make sure, or on that cockroach one, I need to make sure that I put the disk drive together correctly. I think I did. Seems to be functioning. But the drive motor for the disk is, I wonder if it's like held down for like a certain like inch-pound of force or something. Or it's only, the screws are only turned a very specific amount. Because if you turn them too much, I think it actually will scratch your disc. The screws will poke through too far. So I think they just have to be turned a very specific amount. I could also test how many turns are on this disk drive because I'm making the assumption this thing hasn't been taken apart before. Ow, got some rubbing alcohol and a cut on my thumb. Ooh, that burns. Oh, that's not a fun feeling. Get all these stupid screw covers off. There's a ton of them. Two more. Oh, there it is. Only taken apart a couple of these, so I'm not super proficient at it yet. Well, with the amount of screws that the amount of different screws Nintendo decided to use for this outer housing, all I know is that the middle screw on the face side has a really, really long tri-wing. That's really about all I remember. Alright, let me get the CMOS battery out. See if it's either okay or corroded out to hell. Ooh, well, it's still there. That's a plus. A Maxwell. Not a Maxwell. A Maxell. These things are going to be a little... 3 volts. Ah. Which it's 3 volts. Perfect. That CMOS battery is okay. I mean, I was debating if I wanted to do this. I need to get my little cleaning tub ready for parts. Okay, cleaning tub is ready. This definitely needs it. So now Nintendo's need to overcomplicate screws. So I have a number 3 Y. And no, that middle screw isn't a Y, so I'm already misremembering where these go. I did measure out all these screws and put them all in order, so I do at least have a resource to fall back on. And these 2 screws are the bottom ones. I'm more recording this just to see if there's anything that jumps out immediately. I'm not going to do too much diagnosing on the disk drive right now. Well, actually I might. I'll just see how much time I want to put into this right now, as I try and get my camera a little more better oriented. Working on an Xbox One just a little bit ago, and, well, an Xbox One is a little bit bigger than a Wii U. Oh, I missed the screw cover. Is this the super long Y tip? Goodness gracious. I mean, yeah, it is the super long Y tip. Relatively speaking. And there are 3 screws up here, which for some reason has to be 3 Y tips. Like, I mean, they use crosshead to hold that panel on. I assume for like anti-intrusion. And then they use Y underneath the or they use crosshead, or they use Y type bits as sort of like to deter people from pulling these consoles apart. So why didn't they just put the Y? Why didn't they just make all of the exterior screws Y? Because if somebody's using a Y tip driver to get into this thing, a couple crossheads aren't going to stop them. Ooh, and there's bits falling out of this. Alright. We're off to a really good start. Last time bits were falling out of a console, it was cockroached. I see some bits. It might not be as bad, but I'm guessing cockroaches again. Like, right there behind the fan. Remember, this is kind of uncomfy. I don't exactly like how these things pull apart. There it goes. It's a little better. And I don't see rampant rust, so maybe I had a couple cockroaches or maybe a couple bugs got into it or something. Let my people go, please. I think it's these stupid little feet that hold on to it. Let me get this apart. Let me get this shielding off. Oh, I need to remove this. I'm like, I can see a screw. How in the hell do I get to it? This is a gold screw and 2 black screws. I'll keep them together. They're probably not recess 00. They are most assuredly not. I assume recess number 0 or number 1. I chucked all my recesses right here. That's the Y tip number 2. I don't know what happened to my 00. Oh, here it is. Okay. Like, where the hell do all my other bits go? Oh, this one's way too big. This must be the number 1. Yeah, I need number 0. That's a 00, and that's a number 2. Oh. Wow. Things are just popping out everywhere. Yeah, there we go. Plop. Oh boy, that one's in there pretty good. Cammed out on it a couple times. Okay, the shielding should just lift off. Perfect. I mean, this isn't bad, but I'll give it a courtesy cleaning regardless. Metal shielding doesn't need it, and I mean, look on the inside. Dirty, but it's not rusty. Let me get this front panel connector off. Two really tiny. These number 1s? Yes. Deceptively number 0 looking screws. Put those right there. I really need to get in the habit of is blowing these things off before I put them on my desk so they don't deposit stuff. Yeah, that's definitely a leg, I think. Something did crawl in here and die. Yeah, there's some bits on this felt piece. Let's get the disk drive out. I'll worry about the rest of the console later. That's just going to be sort of a pretty bog standard disassembly. Other than just like checking on the thermal pad and making sure everything's nice and clean, I won't really need to do anything else too fantastic. I'm more worried about this disk drive. Because it sounds mechanically wrong. I'm hoping it is like somebody jammed something in there and maybe dislodged a piece. It's not like a stripped gear or a dead motor. Ooh, yeah, this metal shielding looks nice. Okay, so even though bits were falling out of it, it could just been dust and debris. So this, I'm going to just set aside. The material into my wee little trash can. Those were delicious Skittles. Okay, so then I need to be careful when disassembling this thing because I want to make sure I remember where all of these screws go. So these top 2 screws are probably number 0 still. Yeah, that recess fits good. These are the only 2 screws holding together this housing. Housing together, so to speak, so it will just pry off. Nothing obvious. Let me just, I guess I can grab the console again, plug it in, and just see what it does. See if I can sort of narrow down where the behavior is coming from. Or if I can, like, see it. If I remember when I powered this on, it, like, clicked. So maybe, like, I just have to, like, disassemble it and put it back together. Maybe just something got jammed. Or there's something about how it's not, like, properly realigning itself. Let me get everything connected here. Make sure I don't bump these screws off on my side. Plug it in the HDMI just for kicks. Alright. Power on. I mean, it sounds okay. It does have a weird tone to it. It's a bit hard to describe. But when it did that sort of like intake and outtake, sort of like self-test, it just sounded weird. It, like, weird in like an maybe okay, but not super okay manner. It's a bit hard to describe. Alright, tanks, tanks, tanks. It's not spinning the disc. That seems to be the only problem. Those two plastic arms did open up. Okay, so why is that motor not spinning? That's going to be sort of the thing. There's a problem with the disk drive. I just got an error on screen. I mean, I know. I know, Wii U. Thank you for telling me. So I'm going to have to do what I did with my other disk drive and take it apart while recording it. And putting parts in very obvious spots so I remember and I can put it back together. Do more debris. I'll grab my trusty uncleaned pillbox that I used for the last one. So for Sunday, those will be the two exterior screws. They're really tiny. They look like they have a little bit of thread locker on them of some type of glue. They will go into Sunday. Ooh, I think the one that I took apart only had 2 of these screws. So my cockroach one's been tampered with. It's weird, because I did notice there were several missing screws. This might be a number 0 or a number 1 recess. That is a number 2. Number 0 just looked a little loose. Let me try a number 0 recess. And I mean, and these will go into Monday. I've already done sort of a take apart on a disk drive, but practice makes perfect. And there's a couple shots that I really need to get better images of, like the gears. The gears are something I needed to look at to see if I put them in correctly. And there's also, I feel like I already mentioned this, the main drive motor for the spin, like that thing that actually will spin the disc. Those are I think they're torqued down to a specific, like, inch pounds, perhaps. Remove this. So, like, they're torqued down and then they're glued in. So there's like a little dab of glue on everything. All right, so I don't think I necessarily need to remove these arms. I'm gonna try just leaving them. I think I also don't need to remove this, like, spindle thing. So I will also remove that, or keep that. What I will do is remove this tiny PCB, because it does wrap around to the larger PCB to the back. This one will go into Tuesday. And if I decide to measure the screws and all this thing, I'll have to remove them all, but that is a problem for future me to deal with. Because I've been measuring a shitload of screws recently. Suffice it to say, I'm getting a little, not so much tired of it, but it's a bit exhausting. Still held down with adhesive. That's a good sign this thing's never been opened. Okay, so then there's some through-hole screws. There are these 4 main mounting screws, and then there's 2 small ones. I rotated that unnecessarily. There's one right there. And one somewhere in here. Do I need to remove this arm? I might have to. Oh, one right there. Okay, I'm stupid. So stupid. In fact, I just lost my screwdriver. So let me get these the big 4 mounting screws. They're on like little anti-vibration washers. These are all the same type of like weird looking screws. Giant. Ugh. And just really tiny threads. Those will go into Wednesday. Tuesday, I'll put these 2 screws. I think they might be 00. I'll grab them as a 00. Well, my 00 engages them, but they might be more of a 0. So that will separate it from the rear metal housing. This should just lift out. Oh, there's a 3rd screw. Maybe this is a different drive revision. I don't remember 3 of these little guys. Yeah, because I'm curious. Okay. I'm gonna have to rewatch that video because it might be less that drive was tampered with and more that it's just a different revision. There it goes. Why is the gear... These gears are like red. They have like a red tint to them. I think I did put these gears in correctly on my Wii U. Or on my Cockroach PC. Cockroach PC. Gee whiz. My Cockroach console. So I never really got a good like up-close view of the gears. So there's the large 2-layered gear. Large gear with a small gear on top of it. And then this is another 2-layered gear, but you flip it down so the small gear goes in first. Then there's a small 2-layer gear where the small gear is pointed up. I mean, I need to take this assembly off just to really see it, but that's not exactly the point of what I want to do here. I mean, everything looks fine. Like, unless this drive motor's dead. Does it need to be, like, pushed on a little more? I don't really want to do what I'm thinking of doing. But I think I want to do what I'm thinking of doing. I was going to push on the drive, just push up on the drive motor just a little bit to see if I can get it to go. And get rid of this material. I'm gonna do it. I'm feeling like a risk taker. I'm gonna have to keep everything clear of the laser assembly. So I don't want to get something tangled up in there. And the front panel connector, which I should probably just separate from this piece, but I'm just going to leave it as is. Because I don't have a designated spot for those screws. Okay. Just put it like that. I'm going to keep this drive like this, upright-ish. I'll be holding it. I just have to get the power cord plugged in. I'm not really too concerned about the... I don't think I need to be worried about the HDMI. I think it boots without it. Okay, so tanks. What I want to do is hold it... I should probably hold it upright. Or not vertically like this, but more like this. This will be a little jank. Okay. Wait, is this little thing like a sensor? Oh, maybe that's how it detects that a disc is incoming. Curious. I was always kind of wondering how that system works. Well, who'd have thunk it? It's not going to behave very nicely when it's not assembled. Okay. So, i.e. I need to partially reassemble it. It's not behaving. I guess I can't necessarily blame it. I mean, I probably wouldn't behave very well if I was disassembled. It's possible that these arms may have flailed out a little too far. Let me see if I can get tanks out. Yes, I can. Let me put some of the screws back in. These were from Monday, I think. Yeah, those were the Monday screws. Just gonna put maybe one in. Alright, let's try this again. Now that it's like mostly assembled. I say that as I only put one screw in it. Okay, power cable. Batteries to power. Laser reset. Checking for a disk. Did eject because I didn't properly eject. Okay. So tanks. Time for your maiden voyage once more. I think this drive motor's dead. Because all the mechanisms seem to be working. It's ejecting, but I'm not seeing this drive motor spin. Like, even the laser's moving around. Like, it's trying. But, like, I'm pushing on this drive motor and nothing's happening. I don't see the disc spinning. But I mean, yeah, it's working. I think it just needs a new drive motor. I don't know if I can purchase that part separately. I'll have to replace it with a known working drive motor just to see if that's actually the case. Making some very interesting noises, but let me just do the classic strategy of unplugging the drive motor and plugging it back in. The flex cable it was using seems to be okay, so I can't suspect it. A little hard to plug in, so I need to grab some assistance. Okay. It's not making any noise at all. And I don't think it's because it's improperly mounted or maybe those screws back themselves out. Just that motor's not doing anything. So, release tanks. Alright, so now I got my work cut out for me. I'll get this disk drive disassembled. I want to measure all the screws. I think I've decided I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that a little later, though. Because I don't exactly have the most time at the moment. What I will do, however, is get that screw back out and sort of back to where I had it before. Or maybe it doesn't take too much to Yeah. I talked myself out of it. I can disassemble this thing really quickly. Let me get tanks put back away for now. Get the front panel connector over there. Wah. So I'll get the Monday screw back in. Get this piece off. I'll keep the drive arms there. When I get the measuring screws, I'll measure this one independently. Because I don't think I need to take it apart as part of the disassembly of the drive. do want to get this back off. Now I actually wanted to check because how do you clean the rollers in this thing? I took it apart really deeply before I figured this out. I think it's if you push on this tab, I think it releases it. Yeah, you have to kind of push it uncomfortably hard, but it will release this front piece. Well, not this. This plastic piece is clipped in, so this piece it's like almost like a piece of trim. Comes off really easily. It looks like it's got some hooks on the side. Okay. But once you release that tab, you can have access to the roller. So you can clean it with IPA. I found that was really nice. Oh, and it actually will fall out. Hell yeah. So there, if you needed to clean the roller, which I will, hit it with some rubbing alcohol and a Q-tip. Make sure it's nice and grippy. So, continuing on with the disassembly, we have this PCB right here, which is another tiny one. Pretty sure it's the same screw as the other PCB. I don't know if this is like another sensor board, which it does kind of look like. I wonder... Ooh, I dropped it. I found it again. And then this one will go into Friday. So this might directly correspond with the other sensor as like a receiver and an emitter and a receiver. That makes the most sense to me. I mean, however it was mounted, I can sort of postulate based on that. Something like this. Yeah, it looks like it is the through hole right here that it... So it's like a sender and receiver for the disk sensor. So this PCB will come out. I'm going to just disconnect everything. For the motor, I'm going to have to check. There's a couple things I want to do to it. Like, I need to know how many turns these screws are in. So I'm gonna have to mark them and turn them out very carefully, very slowly. Because I kind of winged it on my cockroach Wii U, and I really want to make sure I put it in the right spot. So a couple things I wanted to get really close images of is there's this spring right here and how it's mounted. The long end goes into here, and then it looks like it has like a rear arm. I think I may have put that one backwards on my cockroach console. But let's keep going here. So I want to remove this front panel, this front piece. Two screws. And while I'm in here, I can get this thing lubed. I need to actually check to see if I can even get drive motors. If not, I could just turn my cockroach console into a sacrificial parts console, despite it being otherwise in good shape. But there are parts I can't get. So those screws went in the Saturday. I'm going to get this apart. There are these two screws, which will go into not Sunday. Those are for like this worm gear for the actual main disk drive motor. So I need to slide out one of these bars in order to get the laser assembly out. I can do so right here, I think. There's nothing restricting it now. I might have to take off the drive motor. Nope, I got it. It's gonna be a little awkward though. I don't want to grab it. There we go. Slide this out. Put that right there. And then this laser assembly will just tumble out. To be a little careful with that, so I will place that right there. And then this will mostly come out. There is one more screw in this belt. There's one more screw and a belt. And just the way this cable is sort of routed. This will also give me a chance to lubricate everything. because there are a lot of moving pieces or rotating pieces in this for those little gears. Now there is this very tiny screw holding on the belt motor. I am just going to disconnect the belt and undo this really tiny screw. And for the motor, the print is facing up. This will go into Not Monday. The motor kind of like tilts out at an angle, pops off. Put that right there. Here's the belt. Now this piece I kind of fight with. And again, I don't know why those gears are red. So I'm going to undo this spring, and I think I'm just going to leave it there. No, I don't want to leave it there. It might get bent. So I'm going to put that into Not Tuesday. Got to figure out how I pop this thing off. It's not very intuitive, and I might actually need to take this arm off. I should only need to take off the one arm, keep this other arm in, because there's a pretty sizable spring right there, which I'll get a good image of. I can also lube these little posts that these arms pivot on. Okay, now I gotta remember how to take this off. So what I did find out is that it's a lot easier if you remove one of the gears, then you can sort of shift this freely. I don't think I'm able to take this off, take the roller out easily. So I'm just going to kind of mull on this for a second, see if there's any way I can pop off these. I'll try removing the roller, or see if I can remove the roller. Okay, so there's a spring right in here. I think it's just pointed down, and then just this little lip right here. I'll pop it off straight. It might just be bending against the actual frame. It's not actually in a recess. This one over here is a little weird. So it should have an angled, it has a right angled one, right angled piece that goes in and sort of clips onto this housing, and then there's a straight angled piece. Or it angles 90 degrees and it goes forward. This one's angled 90 degrees twice, if I remember. Ooh! That one went flying. Where art thou? I know where it landed. I just landed in a nice collection of envelopes. Wait, where did it go? It gets stuck on the adhesive? You're a master of tricks, little spring. There's this screw that's probably part of the cockroach PC. I found the spring. Spring! So I don't know where that screw went. I think it kind of looks like one of... Yeah, I think it might be exactly that. So I'm going to put these springs into Not Wednesday. I can't get this spring off, I don't think, right away. Let me see. Oh, I can... Okay, I can lever this out. So with the springs gone, I can lever it out and it should just slide out. Perfect. Put that also into Not Wednesday. So now there isn't technically a restriction on this. I wonder if I can lift this pulley or this little bar up. It's kind of held in by a tab. Just so I can get these... I don't think I can really freely spin these gears. I don't think I can work this shaft out completely. I remember I spent a lot of time trying to figure this thing out, and I mean, kind of good I did because I didn't break anything, but kind of want to make the assumption that this thing is a little easier to pull apart. Well, they're not necessarily meant to be pulled apart. Oh, okay. So for the pulley for the belt, there's a shaft running through. Should be able to just push it out. Yes, I can. And then this pulley should... Well, it will fall out, but right now that like drive shaft's in the way. That pulley will go into Not Thursday. So I need to find a way to just... I think I might have to just manhandle this a little. Sort of crack it off. Not, well... That sounds like I'm going to be breaking it, but I sure do hope not. Almost looks like if I push it back far enough, I can, yeah, I can, there's like a little recess for this angled piece of plastic to pop off of. And then if I do that, I got most of that off, or I got at least this front part free. So does that free this entire lower assembly? No, because there's another one right here. It looks like also if I pushed it back far enough, it would hit sort of, it would fall off its guide. Might be able to just kind of lever it off. If I push it down enough, maybe I can just lift it up off the track. No, I don't think it's got enough clearance. Now that I've released it from the gear track, I can sort of freely move it back and forth. But it looks like I can't push it back all the way. I'm getting stopped somewhere. I wonder if I can remove this piece. I might have to try and release release the upper piece. Because I can't slide this one back far enough to clear this tab either. It's one of the last pieces kind of holding it in. Well, no, if I remember correctly, if I can release this rear one, I think it just kind of almost falls apart. I don't want to be prying at it with metal tools if I can help it. If I recall correctly, this upper piece is only held in with like a post. It's not actually held in with any like mechanical force. It's just sort of like friction fit together, so if I can alleviate that friction, this thing might just I might be able to remove this bottom piece. And that might remove the amount of restriction I have of how much I can move this. Or maybe not. It's like a puzzle. High stakes puzzle. I can maybe see if I can work the shaft out. But I might not be able to with how little of it is actually exposed. I don't really like what I just did, but what I did is I rocked it forward, and that got this last channel out, and now, yeah, it'll just fall apart. So then that piece is out. This piece is kind of just, it's just held in with friction. So I think I just have to kind of just lever it out a little, just sort of jiggle it out. All right. So now I really want to pay close attention to these gears, which are actually still very well lubricated, by the way. Let me grab my tweezers. So there's this end gear. This is just a gear and just a shaft, essentially. There's no teeth on the shaft. That right there. Yeah, these are all still very well lubricated. There's the gear in the middle. This is a 2-layer gear, so it's got small gear and then just glued onto a bigger gear. That's the center one. That was facing down. Then we have the big 2-layer gear. This is the only one. It's very, very prominent. And that was small gear facing up. And then we have the other small 2-layer gear, which kind of has, like, it has a different gear pattern for the larger gear. They're all of the teeth are angled in, so it can accept the sort of, like, transfer of force from the shaft. I'm using probably very incorrect terms. I'm not going to pretend to know what they are. And then we have the shaft itself, which has 2 different, like, teeth patterns. So we have, like, more the worm. So the one that was facing back, I kept the orientation of how I took it out. There's sort of the worm, and then there's sort of the, like, lateral. So, like, the lateral and the horizontal gearing. And then just the tiny little pulley. I mean, it doesn't really... The orientation of it doesn't really matter because it only goes in one way. And then for the disk drive, I'm going to want to really spend some good time on it. Like, I'm probably going to park a microscope over it, mark the screws with fine tip Sharpie, and just slowly back them out and just see how many turns they are as close to I can. And that will at least be a good reference point that I can use to reassemble my, or to correctly torque my cockroach one. So there. Maybe a dead drive motor. I can definitely swap it with my cockroach one. Getting to the drive motor doesn't require this degree of a disassembly, but I'll have to see if I can purchase a drive motor. I'll have to test a drive motor on it just to make sure that the laser assembly works. At least the ingestion and expelling of the disc works, and all the gears are nice and still lubed, so I don't know when this drive motor failed, but I mean, it's entirely possible it didn't get super large amount of use. Okay, I'm actually going to pivot and go ahead and look into disassembling this console. Well, not look into, I will disassemble it. What I first wanted to try before I get that far is actually trying another disk drive just to rule out the base console. If I can eliminate that as a variable, then I can I'll look into the disk drive once I get all these screws measured and I get the motor, I get the exact amount of turns I need to take these screws out. I'll do that a little later. I'm gonna have, yeah, like I said before, I'm gonna need to set up a microscope, point it at it, make a mark on it, and just carefully turn them. So here's a disk drive from my cockroach console, which, you know, a little spotted with rust. I wire wheeled off as much as I could, but it works. That's really the end. That's really what comes down to it. So I just want to make sure that there's nothing wrong with the base console that's keeping it from spinning the motor. I find that to be extremely unlikely that anything in the base console is like if one of these traces on the connectors were broken and it's cutting power to the cutting power to the motor very specifically. That would just be, I would find that to be extremely unlikely. I find it more likely that the motor is a consumable part and that it just wore out. Okay, I think I have that plugged in pretty good. It's a little hard to tell. Let's get power and HDMI onto it. Let's see what it does. I have a little pill container here for the other screws. All right. Power. Yeah, man, that disk drive sounds normal, as I would expect. Let me... I might actually have to go to the Wii U main menu, so I'm gonna have to sync a gamepad to it. It's probably gonna demand that I do so. There's a problem with the disk drive. Oh. You know, I wasn't exactly super confident when I plugged it in the first time. So it may not even be fully seated in there. These corner brackets for the disk drive are very much in the way. I should probably try and remove them. There's just two these screws for each of them. I chose a very bad angle to unscrew these. Because despite this coming from a console loaded with cockroaches, that disk drive still works. I know it's a known good working one. So for this outer perimeter screws, I'm going to put them in the morning container just for future reference. I should be able to determine that based on just the sheer quantity of screws that are in there. I think there's about 22 of them the last time I counted, which is a lot. That's just not like... That's going to stand out compared to the other screws that only have like 2 or 3. So this will just help me get my disk drive in all the way. Or make sure I know I'm seating this cable correctly. Okay. It's pulsing twice. Okay, that's a good sign. It's possible I just didn't have it plugged in all the way. Now, the message that came up before said it wanted me to connect a gamepad, which I have right here in my lap. And if it's still going to demand I connect a gamepad, I'll do so. There's a problem with the disk drive. I mean, no there isn't. There shouldn't be. I wonder what it's seeing. Let me see. Let me try and... I wonder... I'm very perplexed. Did it accidentally work its way out of this connector? I mean, I do kind of have it pinched in this shell. I should probably alleviate that tension real quick. Yeah, and that shielding did have an additional screw. So this is like a different model of motherboard. Oh, and they might be married. Okay, I didn't think of that. So I might not actually be able to test this. Well, okay. So I'm gonna put that aside. That will definitely be, I have to change out the motor. I hate that they marry these motherboards to the disk drive. That makes my job a lot harder. Thankfully it's just the motor, but still. So let's get this apart. I should probably remember the orientation of these antennae. So one side has red and gray, the other side has white and black. As to what they're connected to, I don't know. I'm pretty sure this side is the gamepad, like the gamepad wireless module, the module that sort of is responsible for connecting to the gamepad, because the component is right underneath there on the motherboard, on the other side of the motherboard. And then this side might be Bluetooth or Wi-Fi. I think it might be Wi-Fi. And then maybe this is Bluetooth up here. I'm not really 100% certain. I'm used to the Nintendo DSi that only has one removable chip. This one has 3. So the only screws around the well, there's some, there are screws on this sort of wind channel, I guess you could call it. But I think this is just an unnecessary amount of screws that Nintendo decided to put on this thing. It's not going to deter anybody from opening it, it's just making it more complicated. Or tedious, I guess. Complicated implies that their strategy worked. Let's get these antennas off this housing. Well, I might actually be able to keep all this together. All I know is I will probably need to clean off the fan. Can't really see in there, actually. Can't get that screw until the shielding's gone. Just gonna squeeze my giant screwdriver in there. These will go into noon. The shielding screws, I think there's only 2. One on this side, one on this side. You know, I might want to include these as part of the bath, so I'm gonna remove the antenna. I'm gonna have to reroute everything anyway. I will give them credit. The way they routed these little antennas into this, like, fan shroud is kind of cool. Like, it's very clever. And I mean, the reception for what it was pretty phenomenal, given what it was. I mean, the Wii U gamepad, you can only take it so far before you lose connection. And I'm almost kind of curious, like, if you would be able to artificially extend it. Like, just add a bunch of wire to this. Probably diminishing returns. Maybe you could put, like, a repeater on it. I mean, I wonder how much input latency that would add if you made those wires longer. I do not remember if I think the fan screws are the same as the fan shroud screws. But just, I mean, I measured all these screws. I should know this. But I mean, I don't necessarily remember. I measured a lot of screws since then. Just for now, I'll put them into bedtime. Just kind of a strange thing to say. No, I'll put them in the evening. Oop. I think it was this guy. Now, I know you have to kind of like slide this out. Slide it back, I think. Yeah, and then it comes out. Yeah, this doesn't even need to wash, just sort of a courtesy rinse. There is some spots of rust, so I think maybe some cockroaches did get in. But it's really not enough for me to worry about. Everything should come out. Oh, the one screw I couldn't get. Now it should come apart. Put that into morning. Make sure I got everything. Oh yeah, there's a little bit there. Oh, the CMOS battery is bent. The little receptacle for it. Should be straight. I mean, I can bend that back. That shouldn't be too big of a deal. Huh. Don't know what those are. Styrofoam and, like, a nut casing or something. I don't know. Into the garbage you go. Hello, motherboard. You're looking mighty fine this evening. Uh-oh, it's got a Hynix NAND. This one's definitely a contender for an interposer. I mean, this thing booted fine. I think it's a little ill-advised to replace the NAND when it's not failed, but that thing's a time bomb. And I will put those screws into bedtime. Yeah, that's some crunchy rust. Let me just get this piece into the cleaning bin. I mean, that's not the worst rust I've seen. Not even close. That cockroach console has it beat by a lot. But I mean, this isn't great. I don't like rust. Don't like it one bit. Probably take a wire brush to it real quick and get off all the big stuff. I'm wondering why this isn't coming apart. Okay, there it goes. Had to give it a little more beans. Well, there's really no point in me removing the heatsink because I don't have any thermal pads to replace that with. But once I get rid of whatever this crap is, again, I'll kind of give everything a look over, see how everything looks. I mean, aside from the Hynix NAND, I don't spot anything unusual. Of course, there's this that's sort of bent out. I don't even know how this happens. I need to sort of do a two pinch approach. What I almost might... This has a Hynix NAND, and I'm trying to think about what I want to do with this motherboard. I could maybe ask if it would be advisable just to replace or put an interposer on the NAND and just say, you know what, screw you, Hynix NAND. Or I can use my Cockroach motherboard instead into that console. Just swap out those motherboards and then just sort of squat on this one with a bad NAND. I'll have to ask to see if that's wise, or if it's just like, you know what, if it hasn't failed yet, it might not fail, or it will fail later. Okay. So put that aside. The last thing I need to do is just take apart the front panel connector, which I kind of did a little bit. I needed the little board. So I'm just going to kind of use the board as an indicator that that's where all these screws came from. I do want to get all this stuff washed. I am not going to wash these little LED diffusers because I don't want to lose them. They are very small. But I do want to give everything else a bath. Especially like the buttons. They're not pressed as intently as gamepad buttons, but definitely enough to have some goobers on them. So let's get these LED diffusers. I'll clean these by hand if I need them. I just don't want to lose them. Get all this in my cleaning bin. Why not? Never hurts to soak in some soap and water. So because I want to record it on camera, just so I have a record, because I really don't want to forget, and if I ever need to reference it, I need to know how many turns these screws are in. They're in like a specific foot poundage. So let me see if I can pick off the glue. And when I figure out how many turns it is, I'll put some UV glue on the end here just to fill this recess, because I think that's intended. I mean, to be honest, it looks like maybe 2 threads are poking out. But I really don't want to bet, or I'm not going to bet it based on that. My mat is sliding down. Okay. Turn on the microscope. I'm going to try and see if I can get a good angled view on it. Yeah, like maybe 2 threads poking out. Maybe 3, depending on the side. I think it's like 2 threads poking out. So what I want to do... let's see. I don't think I have a fine tip Sharpie. I mean, I can do a fat tip Sharpie. I just got to be very careful with how I mark these screws. I'm gonna kind of bet these things. This isn't like a rocket science type scenario where it needs to be perfect. I mean, I kind of freeballed it with my cockroach console, and it read discs just fine. So I think that's a T6. I need to kind of angle it so it's not in the way of my screwdriver. It is not a T6. Is this, am I, yeah, it's like a T8. Or is that even a Torx? Hang on. I mean, is it a T7 non-security bit? I mean, I don't know why. Let me check. I need to check another bit set. Okay, I was thinking maybe like was it Pentalope, but Pentalope is more of a star. So I guess I can just sort of. Is this one just like damaged? No, they're all kind of like that. I don't know. I'm just going crazy. That doesn't look like a Torx recess. I mean, 6 doesn't really fit in there very well. 8's too big, so it must be 7. I guess with enough downward force, that will fit just fine. I don't remember needing T7 to take off the other one, but maybe these disk drives are that much different. Hopefully the recess is the same because, or the like drive is the same, or thread diameter. Alright, gotta break the glue. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Probably not 13. Well, what I was doing is I was waiting to kind of... It's like between like 10 and 9 and 12. I was waiting for the screw to skip on the skip on the regress. Or the like the screw post. Okay. So in about 9 to 12, thankfully I have 3 to test. Okay, here's the other one. Get a mark on it. Oh, that's good enough. Okay. So I kind of see how far they back out before. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. About 7. Okay, so I'll be very careful when I do this last one. I'll be like, is it like 6.5 or is it a solid 7? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's not free yet. 6.5. Not quite. 7. Okay, it is 7 turns that these motor assemblies are in. These springs will also pop out. I don't want to turn it over. There's apparently a way to test the motor. Like, I think if it has like a resistance value that's just absurd. Or none. I think if it's like blown through, like with continuity. I don't remember exactly. But since I'm here, I can just sort of probe this thing a little bit. See if there's anything that I can glean. I need to see where the... There's probably something for the motor and then something for the... If there's like a speed control. I don't know how much I can determine just based on looking at it from the top. I mean, I get continuity through pretty much all of these lines except for this one, which this is ground. So I get continuity on all of those. I'll have to compare that against my other... My, cockroach one. At which, at this point, I think I can pretty much reassemble this for the most part, and then I can get this drive motor. I could put this in my cockroach one to see if it still works. If it doesn't, and it's blown, then, well, hopefully I can source a new one. But I need to get this console, or the shell cleaned, let it dry, and then get this disk drive reassembled. Maybe get all the screws measured. I probably should. I mean, that's kind of something I would do, and it would be kind of handy with the crazy amount of different screws and springs and shit. And I mean, I didn't know how to put it back together after I took it apart apart my cockroach one, so it shows me that having that information is kind of important. I got the disk drive, the disk motor swapped out from my Roach console, and I think I'm good enough to put it together just to test it, to see if it was the motor. It makes the most sense that it is the motor. But I'm also not going to make that... Oh, I was just grabbing my motherboard and the little pad right here is starting to degrade. I don't know what it is. Anyway, it's most likely to be the motor. I don't really see why it wouldn't be. so let me just kind of get everything spread out here. I'm going to kind of need those antennas. Grab my power cable. Did I unplug it? No, it's still plugged in. And my HDMI so I can see what's going on. I'm going to need to put in the front panel connector and, of course, the disk drive. I don't necessarily want it resting on the board, so I'm going to use a brand new SD card. I don't want the disk drive just laying on the board. So I need to put a buffer in between it. Perfect. There are no screws in the there are no screws in the cooler, so I'm not gonna have much time here. Hopefully, just enough of that like cohesive property of the thermal pad is enough to keep it running for just a little bit. Hopefully my gamepad's still connected to this one. I think it is. Okay. Got my gamepad. I think I'll turn it on via the gamepad. If I can. No, I must have it connected to another one. Shouldn't be another one. Do I still have my... Okay. Let's just turn it on. It isn't pulsing the disk drive for some reason. Did I forget to plug in something? I don't think so. I guess the Wii U will let me know. It popped up on my display. Oh. Why do I never have a plastic pry tool when I need it? Keep throwing them everywhere. Here's one. I need to link the gamepad. There we go. Oh, this is a different one. I must have connected to my Roach one. Heart, spade. Now, hopefully these antennas are kind of sprayed out enough that I can get a connection. I think so. Gamepad's now ready. Oh, I have to go through initialization? I don't remember wiping this, but I guess... Oh well. I don't have much time. CPU doesn't have any mounting pressure to it. Yes, it's January 1st, 2015. Next. Not now. Not now. Next. I agree. I'm over the age of 18. Jesus Christ. No. Quit internet setup? Yes. No, I didn't factory reset it. No, never mind. It's seeing all the access points. I must have, well, obviously I must have factory reset it if I'm going through initialization. I just don't remember that. I know the Roach PC, or the Roach, I keep wanting to call it a PC, the Roach Wii U was a bit obnoxious to navigate because of whatever madman set up that file system. Let's register generic me. Because I can show it. I mean, it's nothing interesting. Wow, it's really hanging on that, is it? There it goes. Good lord. I need to grab tanks. No, I don't want to link a network ID. Not now. Wii U menu, about time. Have my sacrificial tanks. Please wait. Yes, please. Get me through all these. Disable quick start menu. Alright. Now, tanks. Yeah, that's what I thought. This thing isn't getting power for some reason. I need to unplug it and inspect it. It is entirely possible I just don't have that USB or the ribbon cable seated very nicely. It doesn't really have a satisfying seat. It just kind of sits in there. Okay, let's try it now. Okay, it is definitely not. It's not pulsing the disk drive when I turn it on, which it should be. I should be hearing it trying to pull the disk in and ejecting it. So I need to figure out why it's not doing that. So I didn't exactly... I mean, it looks fine, so I'm really curious about what's wrong. Did this get pulled out, maybe? Or is it detecting a different motor and going into a failsafe? I mean, it's entirely possible I didn't have this laser ribbon cable in all the way. So it didn't initialize, or it didn't go through the initialization or something. Try that theory. Because when I plugged it in, it didn't really feel right. Yeah, I'm getting nothing out of... Why is the disk drive just dead? Why aren't you responding? Why aren't thou heeding my calls? I don't hear anything coming out of it. Even if it was the wrong... Can't say I understand. Like you would think if maybe I didn't position the laser right, it would still make a noise. I would still be hearing these gears turning, or even like the motor straining if I put something together wrong. That's plugged in. All of these are plugged in. I'm fairly certain I seated everything correctly. Even that one's in there really good. Very curious. I guess I can try putting this on. It doesn't seem very necessary. Because like even if I put it together wrong, it would at least still make a noise. At least how I would understand it. I didn't quite expect all this to be this complicated. Swapping out the drive motor was complicated enough. To have this sort of other layer is a little perplexing. That is so weird. Because the first thing it should be doing is pulsing the disk drive. Just on the off chance that that ribbon cable just like failed on me, I'll swap it with my Roach one. Still nothing. Oh. Huh. So it's not that ribbon cable, so it has to be something else. Then, pray tell what it might be. I mean, did maybe one of these lines break for the sensor? Doesn't look like it. I mean, is the motor giving like a strange feedback it wasn't expecting? I mean, if I didn't put together the old Roach one. I mean, let's try and just see maybe that if that motor is giving a weird voltage to the board. Because I should be able to boot without even that motor in place. Make sure I get my fingers out of the way. Huh. I think the only thing I can do is get my cockroach console together and test this drive on it. It's not going to work. It's not going to allow me to use it, but I think it still pulses it. He'll still do the intake and the outtake. Well, I guess I can test the Roach disk drive on this console. I mean, the only thing I did was swap out the drive motor. I have a hell of a time getting these. I hate these style of ribbon cables still. Uh-oh. That's why I hate these ones. Because they need this in order to serve as like a back plate to help add mounting pressure. Nice. Okay. I feel like these ribbon cables kind of fall apart too. Case in point, the little blue tab fell off. That's making very good contact. Try it one more time, maybe because that didn't make contact or something. Nothing. Alright. Roach disk drive. Oh, it's not even wanting to boot. Oh, don't you red blinking light me. Weird. Oh, I may have put this ribbon cable in upside down. I don't think it matters. Alright, it's pulsing the Roach one. So it's not the board. It's not the main motherboard. I mean, I didn't put this one upside down. And again, just make sure it's seated all the way. Maybe what I need to do is pull the power cable, plug it back in. That is so weird. It's definitely reading the disk drive. The second I did that, it turned the console off. I undid the latch. This is really strange. Trying to see if there's anything like obvious that I missed, but or any like wire that's broken. Try replugging in the main like worm motor. There was a name for this type of shaft. Unplug it and plug it back in. Already did that with the laser. That is so strange. I actually don't know. Like, I really don't know why it would be doing this. I haven't the slightest clue at all. Just keep unplugging and replugging in these ribbon cables and like, is something jammed? I would think I would be able to hear it like straining if it were jammed. Like, the drive is trying to do something, but it can't. Did either of these wires break? No, these are the two wires that go to this motor. The only thing I can think of is something along here just snapped. I don't know what it would be though, because that would control the intake for the intake and the eject. I don't want to move this while it's on or has power to it. CPU is getting nice and toasty. Ooh, baby. I don't think I'm going to really be able to take this off without sort of fully disassembling this portion again. Does this little piece need to be, like, depressed? There's like a little switch right here. It's just weird because I should, like, hear something. Like, if I screwed something up along these gears, I would at least hear the motor spinning. There's a little switch right here I wanted to try pressing. Just seeing if it does anything. Anything at all. Just to say that I didn't short something. Right now, I have no clue. I'm completely dumbfounded. I'll just plug it in for power for now. Nothing. What if I do that? This is so strange. I have no clue. I don't know why it's doing this. Like, is it misaligned? Did I break something? I know I kind of bent at this laser ribbon, but that shouldn't have impacted it. I, like, unplugged it and plugged it back in like 3 times. The motor shouldn't certainly have anything to do with it. Especially since the startup doesn't pulse it. I think I know the answer. And I'm not exactly going to say I'll feel stupid, but it will make sense. Maybe. Because I think the last time I tested a disk drive, I never left it apart like this. What I think is going on is the motherboard isn't grounding against the shielding. And it allows for it. So I wonder how important that grounding is. There are 3 screws that sort of screw the motherboard into the bottom housing. I'm just going to put those 3 screws in. And that would... It's like the only thing I can think of that could possibly be a thing. Is if that needs to ground against the housing. It'd be the easiest. But is not the case, it would seem. Damn. So then the only thing I can really think of is I assembled this thing wrong. But I need to test it against another console. So I need to get my cockroach console up and going again. It is so strange. Let's give this a go now. And still nothing from the disk drive. So I spent a couple hours just swapping parts between this console, or this disk drive, and my Roach console, and I mean, I'm still a little baffled as to what exactly could have happened. Now, my best guesses is it's possible that this drive is a newer revision, and maybe the logic in it, because when I plugged it in, maybe when I plugged it into the Roach console, it perhaps either like conflicted with the encryption keys coming out of the console and almost put it in like a lockout mode. Either that, or I assembled it incorrectly, so it's throwing like an error thinking it's jammed. So it's not triggering any of the drive motors. I don't even know what logic would even detect that the thing is jammed. So this thing is in... I'm not really sure what to do with this. And sort of in swapping parts, this is the Roach console still, or the Roach disk drive works. Well, actually, I don't know if it reads disks, but I'm assuming it does based on how the laser and the drive motor work. In swapping parts, now this console doesn't detect disks. The sensors don't work. Grab tanks. So when I go to actually put the disk in, it's not seeing it. It's not pulling it in like it should. But it will still pulse. I don't think... Still pulses. And it will pull in a disk if I, like, trick it. Like when it's doing the ingestion of a disk, I can put the disk in and it will feed into it. But it's not detecting the disk, which it did before. That could be a couple things, perhaps. Like, I think it detects disks via IR emitter and receiver. There's like basically an invisible beam that's shot across. It's entirely possible that when I installed it, I may have misaligned it just slightly. I don't exactly know how that's possible, just based on how the PCBs sort of sit within this console. It's kind of keyed, and there should be enough screw posts on this thing to like almost force alignment. Like, I don't see much conceivable ways of it falling out of alignment. So I now have 2 disk drives with issues instead of just 1. And I don't exactly know how to progress from here without having references. I do have 2 more Wii U consoles coming in, one with dead memory, or a dead memory chip. The other one, I don't know the problem with it is. So what I think I might have to do is just wait until I get those consoles so I have adequate backups, or adequate references that I can pull these consoles apart, look at their disk drives, and look at unmolested disk drives and just see where I went wrong. Did I put together this disk drive incorrectly? That's why it's not even powering up. It thinks it's jammed or something. Or maybe it's just something to do with the logic board within it. I hope I didn't cook it. Swapping a motor and cooking a drive just seems a little unlikely, but if there's some type of encryption talk between, well, there is an encryption talk between the disk drive and the main board. If somehow crossing that with another main board sort of throws the original disk drive into like some type of like confused state, I don't know. I could sit here and speculate, but I won't really know until I have a couple samples to really test against. I can do electrical probing and just see kind of what the hell's going on. Because it's possible maybe that swapping in the motor from the Roach console, it's possible that maybe that motor is incompatible, because these are 2 completely different drive models. The 102 and the 034. I noticed that the PCB layouts were different, the laser ribbon cable was different, the screw hole mountings for the PCBs were different. I can't imagine that the motors are different. The motors are simple. They're just simple, like, DC motors, but if this is maybe expecting to drive a really much more energy efficient motor, and it's encountering something that needs maybe more power, I don't know if there's like a backfeed that maybe popped a couple resistors or something. I really don't know. So I'll just have to sit on this for a while and wait until I get more information from other consoles and pick apart their disk drives and just kind of see what I can glean without taking them apart and hopefully not breaking them as well. But I didn't expect these disk drives to be this delicate. They seemed fairly robust in their construction, but they seem to be a lot more picky than I expected, so I will have to be extremely careful with that.